Lush, and I'm here at the Hub Culture Pavilion in Davos. Really pleased now to be joined by Dave Hanley. He's a principal at Deloitte Digital, but here to talk to me now in his capacity as an advisor to Enable. So first,
That's right.
Tell me, what does Enable do?
So Enable is a community that together designs, prints, and distributes prosthetic hands to people who need them, people who might be missing a finger or all their fingers or their hands. Someone in their hometown can print the hand for them, snap it together with string and rubber bands, and deliver it to them.
And this is a 3D printer, obviously.
A 3D printer, that's
Any
correct.
3D printer, any material, what works
Well,
best?
there's specific materials that are more durable, but all the 3D printers that you see on the market will work with our work.
So how does it work? What do I do if I need a hand?
So if you have a hand, typically we're looking at injuries that are either above the wrist or above the elbow. For above the wrist, if you can bend your wrists, what we ask you to do is take a picture of your hand, and on your hand, we look and we can look and see, what exactly do you have, what don't you have, and from there, we say, this design will work for you. It's been designed by our whole community of designers that are publishing new hands about every 6 weeks. Then all we need is the measurement from one side of your hand to the other, just right here. Once I have that, then we can the files scale themselves down exactly to the size of your hand, and you receive a file. And that file is just a little piece of information, just like you're sending to your printer. You send it to your 3D printer, and it takes about 10 hours to make, about $25 in materials, and then it takes you about an hour to put it together.
Tell me some of the stories that you've heard of people who've benefited from this.
Well, there's a child who has gone through his whole life. He's had prosthetics, but as a child, your hand keeps growing, so they're always uncomfortable, and so typically he won't wear them, and it's kept him from doing sports. One of the first hands I saw was actually one that had been broken, and there's a piece right here that had split on that, and he broke it because he was holding a baseball bat, and he was on a pitch. He was hitting the hand, and it got a little crack, and so what he did is he called the person who gave him his hand, and he was able to just print that piece at first, and they got together, and the kid can disassemble his own hand, snap it back together, put it in and use it. And so it's something that is, one, you're enabling a child to do what they haven't been able to do, to play a sport or to fit in, and then the ability for the child to service it himself in partnership with the person who can bring them apart.
It's extraordinary. And what about adults? What story?
Oh, absolutely the same. So the story of Enable actually began with a carpenter in South Africa who, risk of his trade, had sliced off his fingers, and he finds this puppeteer on YouTube who had made these giant hands that he could control with his hands with these huge fingers, and he reached out and said, could you help me make a hand that would fit for my needs? So they worked together to figure it out. They would 3D print files and put together, and then they made this hand, and they made a video together. And it seemed really special, and you go to YouTube, which is usually filled with all these horrifically negative comments, and they were really positive, and people were really inspired. So a brilliant professor in the States named John Scholl, he puts on, in the YouTube comments, a link to a Google map where you can say, I need a hand, or I want to lend a hand. And lend a hand means you have a 3D printer. And we connected people, they put themselves on the map, we'd find two people next to each other, and they would just get together, do this, and deliver them the hand.
Extraordinary. What's next?
So next is scale. So we printed 2,000 hands last year. We're only 18 months into this. We just incorporated the nonprofit in recent months. It's been more of a movement. Now it scales. So we're here at Davos talking to partners. Very exciting forthcoming partnerships that are coming out of Davos. We're looking for large nonprofits that can help us to get to the poorest, the most in need. Right now it's parents who have seen the internet and who can go on and request on the site. Wonderful to meet their needs, we will continue to. But if we want to reach the poorest, the person whose life they'll never be able to have the same achievements as you might have in the West, we need partners in the developing world and everywhere to find and then help us distribute. And then those that are going to work together, whether it's one person with a 3D printer or someone with a lab, we need help in the manufacturing.
Okay, thank you so much for stopping by the Hub Culture Pavilion.
Thank you for having me.
Here in Davos, and I'm Edie Lush.